Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to the channel, ToyRCota Builds. And if you're not familiar with the channel, that's a good thing, because this is the very first episode. I'm ToyRCota. These are my builds. On this channel, we're just going to go over some of these tiny trucks, scale trucks, RC crawlers, whatever you call them. If you're into RC trucks, this might be the place for you. Each week, I'd just like to go over some of these different builds that I'm working on, show you what I'm doing with them, and yeah, maybe it'll give you some inspiration to build things also. So if you're into that kind of thing, this might be the place for you. Please like and subscribe. If you enjoyed the video today, please give us a like, and yeah, subscribe if you'd like to see some more in the coming weeks. And stay up to date with where these builds are going to go and some of the new ones that'll be coming down the pipeline. And I got into this hobby about 5 years ago, and I got an Axial trail honcho. It was the scx10, the OG. I love that truck. It fell off a 30-foot cliff, and I drove it out of the trail one day. And after that, all the tinkering I did on it, I fell in love with it. And yeah, now I've got 10 trucks in a scale garage 5 years later, and still into it, just as the day I started. And it's a great hobby. I love that you can do some modeling. The building part is a huge aspect that I love about the hobby. And then, of course, the driving. You know, you get to take these trucks that you've poured all of your love into and tons of work, and you get to take them outside and you get to drive them on rocks. I've built a scale course in my backyard, which we'll get to too, I'm sure, and do some running videos. But yeah, there's so many different things that can go with this hobby, from you know, building tracks outside. It gets you outside, and building things inside. So it's an even a good winter hobby too. But yeah, let's start with a garage tour, maybe, since that's where this is kind of the stage, the studio, if you will, the workbench, where all this happens. And move this guy out. We'll come back to this one. But yeah, welcome to the garage here. So one of the first things I wanted and saw other people had was a scale garage. Basically, create a diorama for your trucks to be in, and what better than to actually make it your workbench, make it your desk. So I have just a cheap desk under here that I could clamp a sheet of plywood to, and yeah, just got like a quarter sheet of plywood from Lowe's, and got some MDF board for the walls, and put it together, nailed it together, and got some dowel rods for beams and supports on the wall. I got some brick from Michael's. The craft store, they have that for like Christmas scenes and Christmas towns for the streets. So the brick came together for the lower portion of the walls, and then just some corrugated cardboard. If you take like the back off of a piece of cardboard, you'll see that it's all corrugated inside. And if you're lucky enough, you'll sometimes find some sheets that are just already have the back off and are already corrugated. So you'll see them like that. But yeah. Give you a quick overview of the scale garage. I have a couple vices in this garage. I've got a jeweler's vise, which is a small steel vise, and another small vise with some rubber teeth on it to be soft for things that I don't want to damage. So, but yeah, this is the workspace. Have a cutting mat, and painted it up. Did some speckle like you would see in a garage from Lowe's, and filled it up with stuff. Built a table, got some other scale things that just fit right. Some from places like RC 4-wheel drive, but others just from random companies and 3D printers. And yeah, pretty much anything that you find that can fit is awesome. Like I have this little ceramic dog. I think he's a Mastiff. And yeah, he just fit right in there. Had to have a pup in my garage here. But yeah, got some games, some scale games. I think this one died. But yeah, some Dig Dug and Galaxian. Can also play some games in here if it gets too tedious wrenching in this garage. But yeah, gets dirty a little bit. You get the dirt from your trucks and the sand coming in, but adds to the realism. You get some grease and oil on the floor, and pretty cool. All right, let's dive into some of the builds. Maybe I'll go over a build here, and we'll save some builds for some coming episodes. So stay tuned, and yeah, subscribe to the channel and check them out for each weekend, probably Sunday. And yeah, hope you enjoy it. If you have any tips or anything you'd like to see, or if you have any ideas for any of my builds, please comment below. And yeah, hang out. Maybe work on some builds, you know, while we're working on them. Maybe we'll get some live streams going and build some stuff in the garage and take some questions or comments and spend a Saturday evening working in the garage. But yeah, this is the first build I wanted to show. This was a Class 2 build that I had done back in 2019, but this is sort of the restoration of it. If you check me out on Instagram, at ToyRCota, this was called the Creature, and it was green before, weathered body. I had done the styrene doors, where I comped the doors and put the bar in there. That's actually just a tube of styrene also that I cut to fit in there and glued it in, and bobbed the bed, and also, of course, trimmed under the grill and under the tailgate. And there is a bumper back there, if you can see that. Metal bumper, metal sliders, metal front bumper. The sliders were actually custom built from Scalar Fab, but I have tried to break into some brazing of my own, and I brazed up the front bumper, but with parts of an existing bumper. So I didn't actually bend any of this myself. This was a cheap bumper I had. I wanted it to be a little shorter, not go all the way out to the full length. This is for a Class 2, so I didn't quite need that. And I wanted it to sit a little further in. So I wanted it to sit closer to the body. So I brazed it up that it would fit nice and snug in there. It was for a winch, but I'm going to put a winch somewhere else in this truck. This might not be my Class 2. This might just be a fun, you know, capable crawler with a hard body. But of course, it's a RC 4-wheel drive Hilux Mojave hard body. And yeah, let's get under the hood here. Of course, all the details still need done up with the headlights and the tail lights, and you know, paint some moldings black, get the windshield in there, and probably doing a full interior also. I know this is a scx10 2 chassis it's on, and there isn't a ton of room in there for a interior, but what I'll usually do is make a place to mount a seat on each side and do some type of floor covering, some type of upholstery in there, have a dash, and typically that's good enough to give the illusion of an interior. The hood opens, and that's where I can get to the battery and plug it in. Alright, pop this body off, and underneath it's mostly an scx10 too, but I do have some corrupt Carbon Works frame rails on it. They're flat rails. They're out of their, I think, G10 type of carbon fiber. I guess it's not their carbon fiber one, but it's a little bit of a more flexible material than the carbon fiber, the G10. So I don't know if you can see that there, but it allows it to pinch a little bit where the bumpers mount. The carbon fiber, I guess, would be a little bit stiffer. But yeah, I pretty much have it set at full droop, so the shocks aren't really, you know, pushing it up at all. They've got a little bit of dampening to them with a little bit of oil and some extremely light springs in there. And then I put those shock socks from RC 4-wheel drive on there, if you can see that. But yeah, the scx10 to AR44 axles, and I've got some brass axle or diff covers on there. Just painted black, brass diff covers. I kind of like too that the painted kind of gives that a metal look. So you see it catches light. And yeah, painted up the, that's actually a Beef Tubes brass steering link on there. It had a little bit more weight in the front down low around the axle. And this steering link also has the added advantage that it helps the tires. I don't know if you can see that, how far they actually turn. Some flat steering links that you would normally have that are just straight would typically hit this diff, and it wouldn't give it as much of a throw. But these the Beef Tubes steering links, they're brass, they add some weight up front, and they just make that throw for days. And they're also paired up with some brass knuckles that are, I think they're like what's the word, iodized with like a gunmetal, so they don't look brass, they come that way. And I forget who those are from. Can't quite place it, but a lot of companies make those. And I think they also help increase that throw a little bit. Now I could definitely use a stronger servo in here. This is just a cheaper Power HD waterproof servo, 23 kilograms. Just thrown in there just to get it working, but definitely like a Holmes Hobby direct power servo would be great if this was going to be a comp build. Got a Hobby Wing ESC in here, which I haven't really tried a whole lot. This is a new ESC for this truck. Before I had a stock Axial ESC, and I'm just running a brushed Holmes Hobbies 45 turn 550 can, which is a super cheap motor. They're like 10 or 15 bucks. But they have a lot of torque. They're slow for, you know, if you're just starting out. I really recommend one just as a beginner. I think that the brush motors, they're easy to work with. They're cheap. You don't have to worry about getting them wet or anything. Some Vanquish, or Incision, I should say, we've made by Vanquish, drive shafts, and I highly recommend these. These things are bulletproof. I run these in pretty much all my comp trucks because I had a lot of problems with drive shafts, and those seem to be, if you have plastic ones still on your truck, they are bound to break. And even some metal ones, I've had some terribly built metal ones. I won't name which ones, but I recommend the Incision for sure. They are built great and have never given me any problems. Yeah, other than that, I'm running just some Falcon Wild Peak MT. These are like some RTR tires that I got cheap on eBay, and I think they're pretty scale looking, and I like them. They were a nice size for this truck. They fit the wheel wells pretty well, I thought, and yeah, just running them just for fun. If I was going to comp this truck, I would probably put on some Proline Hyraxes, 4.75s for a Class 2, and yeah, some sort of custom wheels on it as well. So I painted the inside of these Vanquish style wheels the same plum color as the body, and then got some beadlock rings. These are the Biohazard ones from Spider Pig RC. You can check them out on Facebook. But yeah, this is probably the newest build or restoration build. I haven't really shown it off or anything on Instagram or on the forums yet, but I thought I'd show it off here. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped on this truck. I like the way it sits, and it performs well. And yeah, I'm not sure what I might do with this thing yet. I've got some ideas for it. Of course, I would like to do an interior. I've got these sort of a rubber seat. I forget what company makes these, but they're sort of a rubber compound. They're probably a little heavy for a comp truck, but I don't think I'll be comping this one. This might be too beautiful. Yeah. Well, that's not going to fit in there. Not like that. But what I'll typically do is make some type of platform for these to sit on in there, and get the seat inside the truck and sit on the platform, and that adds a ton of detail. And then just get some type of floor covering. Of course, you are going to have a large hump in the middle, this being an scx10 too, but you can make it look cool. You can, you know, make it pass off for an interior that just has a really high transmission channel. But yeah, got a roll cage painted up for it too. Not sure if I'm going to put it in here. It's a RC 4-wheel drive roll bar. Don't know if I'll use it. I do like the way that the grate looks on the back, or in the back window. Might do some kind of covering over these. Kind of like the way the Corrupt Carbon Works ones run, even though they're not super scale. Still think they look pretty cool. But yeah, you know, the tire rubs a little bit up here, but this is so smoothed, it doesn't really catch, it doesn't really make noise or hurt anything. So what can you do there? There's some big tires and this thing sits really low, but it crawls great. So yeah, might change the name from Creature on this to Plum Crazy, maybe something like that. But you can see if these shocks were, you know, had some heavy springs in there, you'd see where it would sit. But having all that center of gravity way low like that makes it very capable. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining me. This has been the very first episode of ToyRCota Builds. I hope you enjoyed it. Checked out the Plum Crazy Creature thing. And next week, we'll check out another truck. I've got 10 right now going that maybe one's done, but the rest are not. And maybe a sneak peek. How about a sneak peek at next week? How about next week, we'll check out the mostly completed Death Valley Speedway build. So this is a, well, I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'll just show it to you. And we'll talk about it next week. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed it. If not, hit the dislike button. Leave me a comment on what you think could be done better, what you'd like to see. Appreciate you watching. Thank you. Have a good day. Good night.